I'm Tom Johnson, Thomas Johnson Antique Furniture Restoration in Gorham, Maine. This is a nice antique chest of drawers. It used to have a mirror on the top. You can see evidence of that. That's gone. I put this at about 1840 or so, and the reason I say that is this treatment, the veneer treatment on the front. It's done with this flame figured crotch mahogany, and then the rest of the piece is made out of poplar. It has this beautiful scroll work on the bottom. That's kind of unusual, I think, for the American Empire period, but that must be where this is from. Missing some, well, there's some pieces off here. I was given some pieces. I think they fit there. It's got some veneer repairs. And then the top was cracked and warped. It will almost certainly need to be refinished, the top. The rest, I'll attempt to revive the finish, and if it doesn't really work well, we may end up refinishing also. First thing I want to do is see if I can take this top off to reglue it. Top seems, it's glued down. There's got an extra board in the back and some big blocks here. It's very unusual. I think I'm going to start by taking the back off. And you can see that the center board is screwed. These side panels are floating panels. They were nailed in, which does allow for expansion and contraction. And it all appears to be original. I don't think this back has been off of here. Something's preventing, with the screws out, this board, center board should come up. I have one screw left in it, but it's just spinning around, not really holding anything. I just can't get to it to get it out. I think I'll loosen up these side panels and see if I can get one of those out. I can't get the head of that nail to come proud so I can grab it with the pliers. I'll work on the other nails, see how many I can get out. It's tough. I don't want to damage the back. Sometimes it's difficult to get a nail out. I may clip it, but then I can't use the original nail, but we'll see. Well, so I got 3 nails here. This panel, can't come up, but I did manage to get this up enough so I can grab this screw. don't think that's an original staple. It's probably impossible to remove a back without doing some kind of damage because it's all nailed on. But you got to keep it to a minimum, and then when damage does occur, repair it right away. This area of the back was already worm-eaten and damaged, but I'll see if I can get that out of there and glue it back where it belongs. I can see now that the top is glued to this rather large board in the back, but I'm not sure that this board is even attached to the carcass. I may not have to take it from the top. It may just be held by these glue blocks. So I think I'll concentrate on those glue blocks and then see what I got. So I'm trying to get these blocks off. It's difficult, they're not giving it up very easily. I've come to realize that this wide board is indeed mortised into the side of this cabinet. I'm thinking that maybe I'm better off, I've got to get everything unglued. I'm thinking maybe I should work on that mortise a bit and then work on where the top is glued to the side here also. And maybe everything will come off. And that'll make it easier for me to get everything unglued from each other. Now I'm worried about applying heat to the outside of it here because of I don't want to damage the finish. I could put some heat on the inside, I think I will, but first I'll just try it without any heat just to see if the glue is willing to let go. Up, little chip. Oh, good news, it's coming out. I'll do the other side. I cleaned and sanded this knife to make it super smooth, but I'm still going to use tape as a precaution. I need to go at this from a little different angle. So it's coming. I think I'll apply some heat. I got to be careful this side. I don't want to scorch the finish, but maybe it'll help. Okay, now I'll be able to separate this big brace from the top. They're glued together. But first I'll get the other half of the top off. So I've gotten my knife under all these blocks. I got to remove this kicker for the top drawer, and it's coming off just with the knife, not even any heat. Okay, I've gotten my knife pretty well under those blocks, but I still have to do the front edge, the top rails. It's also glued down to that top rail. Instead of using the heat gun on this to break the glue, I'm heating up my putty knives in my little oven and seeing if that helps get in there. So I'm moving right along here. I got a good system now. I take the thin, flexible knife that's hot. These knives get stuck, so I take the thicker bladed knife, and that frees up the flexible blade. And then I use this wooden wedge . You can see it's coming along nicely. No damage. Well, there's a little chip right there which I've taped down. I'll glue that down later, but it's going pretty well now. I'll just keep going. Wow, it was my intention to show the dramatic moment when the top came off, but I was only to about this point here and it just let loose. Luckily I caught it, but the top is off. You know, I was thinking that the next step was to get this big board unglued from the top. But I got to thinking, I don't really think I need to. I think I can leave that glued. Then this board, of course, gets glued into the case. But as long as I make it so that this larger board in the front can move, I think that'll be enough to keep it from splitting. the edge seems square. So I'm going to carefully scrape it. It's got a lot of dirt and glue on it. And now I'm going to go over it just lightly with a little bit of 100 grit and a block. Just want to give it a little tooth. It's funny, this edge has a lot more glue and gras-du on it, but I had put a new blade in this larger scraper when I did this half, and that seems to be doing the trick. Alright, this glue up is a little complicated because of this board that's in the way. I want to bring this together, of course, and I want to make sure that the top is level. This board is interfering with what I want to do, but I think I've figured out a way around it. I'm not going to try to dowel this together. I want this top to be really as level as possible. I don't trust myself with the doweling jig and these dowels. I don't think they're necessary. So you'll see I'm going to apply the glue. I'll put one bar clamp across the middle. Then I'll use my other clamps to make sure it's and some boards to make sure it's level. And then I'll put the rest of the cross clamps on. Alright, this thing came together really well. I had it all planned out. Like I advise people all the time, I did all this dry before I glued it up. It came together really well. We'll see what it's like tomorrow. Okay, top looks great. We got a lot of work to do on this top, but first I'm going to get some clamps on the case. Most of the damage to the case is here on the lower apron and these feet. We have some of the pieces, and then there's going to be some veneer patching to do. This is the box where the client's mother-in-law kept tons of pieces from a lot of different pieces of furniture. And that's where we found some of these pieces too. And there's some other pieces in here. I don't know if they go with this or not, but we'll be finding out. This dovetail's a little proud here. I'm going to get a clamp and see if it will move down. I think it pushed down. A little bit of space there. Now I took the clamp off. It doesn't look like it moved, but this piece seems to fit here really well. It's a little bit proud there. This is nice and level. I think I'll just glue it down and clamp it. The most important thing is that this be level here. I use hide glue when I'm restoring these antiques, and I'm really liking this kind, old brown glue. Okay, while these are drying, I can get back to the top. The first thing I'm going to address, you can see this real dark area along here. I guess a mirror stand was here, and I want to plug these holes. The larger hole is seems like it's pretty close to being 3/8 already. I think I can just put a 3/8 plug right in there. The other hole's much smaller. It's just a quarter. I need to drill it out to 3/8, but so first I'll plug that hole with a little bit of epoxy and a smaller plug. I'm using 5-minute epoxy for this. This is just a temporary plug, and I want it to dry quickly. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to putty up any openings in the seam. I'm going to be stripping this top off of here with some sort of solvent, And I don't want any of that solvent to get into this glue joint. Of course, if it was a really tight joint, you wouldn't have to worry about it, but this is not a perfect joint. I expect I'll get some pushback about this lousy joint, but the reality of it is we're not asking this joint to do a whole lot, and we'll talk more about that later. Okay, that's dried, let's drill it out. Now I'm going to guess where the center is. This is a drilling jig I picked up at a yard sale. It seems to make a lot of sense. Oops. Even though this other hole is sort of 3/8, I'm going to give it a clean out with the drill. I'm using hide glue for these plugs, but for repairs like this, you can really use any type of glue. Okay, back to the case. This piece is missing. There's other areas, you know, where it's questionable. There's not much missing here. And yet, so I could do it with putty, but on the other hand, it's so close to an edge, a vulnerable edge. I may want to put wood there. There's a lot that I've got to decide on here. All right, I'm going to start with the obvious patch. First thing, I'll check this box of pieces to see if any of these pieces are in there. And then I'm going to take some alcohol and start cleaning this so I can see what the grain looks like. There's so many pieces in here, and I don't think I'm going to find anything. I already found a few pieces in here which I've taken out, but I should look. Yeah, see, I'm looking for irregularly shaped pieces, and these also aren't figured mahogany. No, that's really it. All the rest are just these larger pieces. Yeah, no, nothing. Okay, I've got lots of interesting stuff here. We need to go determine what the veneer on the chest looks like. This is alcohol. And I got a seam down the middle also. The problem with old stuff like this is it's rarely usable. Definitely here I don't have enough to make a book match seam for that patch. This looks like it has possibilities though. So I just keep going through my scraps looking for something that's similar. You know, you hear the grains kind of going at a diagonal, kind of like, you know, sort of like this. And I've been going through a lot of pieces here, And I'm kind of liking this one the best. This piece, this has got those stripes coming out of curve, same way as this. And I want to get down in here. I don't want too dark of a stripe in there. And then this side's just so straight grain, I could probably take it from anywhere in here and just orient it in the right pattern. I was trying to get that dark stripe in there, but you know, I'm not going to fuss too much about this patch given its location. Man, same thing. I got to start from the other direction. You know, I think I want to locate this now, but I better decide where I'm going to cut this. Maybe straight across there. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I've got a stripe here. So I think I'm trying to line it up with this stripe here. Got to remember to cut this way. Okay. Okay, there's half my patch. Now I think I can use the same piece. I just need some of this straight grain stuff down here. And I can just orient it. I'm going to need to retape this. It'll be fun to see how that comes out. Now this one's just so ragged, I think I should just cut straight across there and add a whole new piece. I'll clean it off with alcohol first and look for my match. Actually, I'm going to use water first to get that glue off of there. I think I need to angle it a little bit more like that way. I should at least try to save these pieces. I can use them for these smaller patches. I don't think it's going to work. These diagonal marks are from a toothing plane. So I'm off here. I've got to recut this. That's better. I'm hoping you can hear the rain and thunder out there. Sounds neat. A few of these others are really skinny. I'm just going to fill those in, these edges in, with a little epoxy putty. This one here I've got to add a little piece of wood to. This chip and a corresponding one on the other side were caused by the bottom drawer. There's a groove here. They're only worn at the very end. Overall, the runners are in good shape. So I'm going to glue just a piece of wood in here just to take up that gap at the end. Okay, let's see what we've got here. I use a little water here just to clean some of the excess glue off and give us a little preview. Just a few more patches to go. I have both these corners, that one and the corresponding one, and a couple of little ones. So this is the strip I added to the drawer runner. I need to level that off, clean this up. I need to add a little epoxy putty in here just to bring that corner up to snuff. Now I got to get a little putty down in there. There's a little bit of looseness here, because this was such an uneven surface. I'll fill that with epoxy putty along with this corner. The epoxy putty can work as an adhesive also. You don't want to let this putty harden on you, especially in a tight spot like this. I'm going to give it another minute or two. It can be very helpful to dip your chisel or knife into a little water. And this is the other side. This one is the top corner. Now I got to get back to this little piece that I added on. Oh no. I was afraid that might happen. This joint probably wasn't as good as I wish it was, so I took the block, bandsawed it, and now I will glue that back again. And I may even try to do a little bit of that curve too. Do more before I glue it up. I'm going to poke some holes in here, and I want to use 5-minute epoxy, although I'm going to let it dry a lot longer than 5 minutes. And I may even put a nail through there to help hold it. This is a small piece, going to end up being a really small piece in a very vulnerable spot, but I wanted it to match the corresponding side. It reinforces my decision to use a epoxy putty on these other ragged areas and then smooth them out. It's just too vulnerable down here. It's likely to start getting hit by a vacuum cleaner right out of the gate. Once again, you can dip your finger in some water. Just smooth that out a bit. I'll still sand that edge though. Yep, that came out. I may have been chiseling it a little too soon. I'll redo it. Let's take a break from the case and get back to the top here. I already used wood putty the other day all along that joint. Now I want to trim the dowels. Now I'm going to use wood putty in the areas surrounding these plugs. I'm going to sand this long line of putty, smooth it out a bit. I'm going to scrub this down with alcohol and see what it looks like. Alright, let this dry overnight and I can get back on the case. Let's hope this sticks better this time. I think I better use the saw. Oh, yeah, I'm way too big, which is what I thought, and that's great. I'm terrified of taking too much off. See, as you flip the gauge over, this kind of informs you as to how much larger that is. Well, that's as close as I'm going to get. Maybe I'll refine it a little more. Let's get some veneer on it. I can see the pattern now. This has got pretty wild grain, but given how little this piece is and its location, I'm not going to worry about that. But I'm going to get something here that's got the the grain going in the same general direction. Maybe somewhere in this area here. Anything will be fine. Okay, now it's time to shape and sand all these patches. Now the same routine for all these other patches. Now I'm just sanding with 150. I've got to level these off. Okay, I'm going to sand this entire front apron, just from here to here, and stop there. And that way all my patches will be completely smoothed in, and anywhere I need putty, I can putty. Okay, I've got some, at the top of these two top drawers, there's real little chips of veneer. I'm going to just use wood putty for those. There's also a couple little chips from when I had to work that top off that was glued down. This putty dries pretty quickly, about 15 minutes or so. Okay, I believe I've got all the veneer repairs done. There's just two veneered pieces in this cabinet, the bottom apron and the top. So now we can start on the finish. When I was doing the veneer repairs to the base, I used a little alcohol to see what the grain looked like, and I really liked what I saw the alcohol doing. I'd really like to get these knobs off, especially so I can repair this one. But I suspect that they're threaded dowels. I think I can see inside here they're threaded and they've been glued. I like doing the heat in 2-minute increments. So I'm going to give it 2 more minutes on the back, and then I'll give it 2 minutes on the front. Now I'm holding the gun about 6 inches from here, about 15, a little over 15 centimeters. You want to hold the gun as close as you can, but without scorching the wood or the finish. I'm going to do the front also, and there I'll have to be really careful. You can see the glue there reacting to the heat. There it goes. Oh, that was glued on. I was hoping the stem would come out of there, but I don't think it is. Well, I was hoping the entire knob would come out. It'll just make it easier to do this surface. But I'll leave that there. I'll have to glue these back. I'll clean off all that excess glue. But I'm really hoping at least that I can get this one out, the one that needs repair. That's the most important one. Same thing. This has been broken and was re-glued. Since these have been, well, I'm going to say broken and glued, although these look like they were always glued on. They were never a part of the top. I might have to replace these two knobs, and I'll see what the other ones are like. Frequently have to do that kind of trick on these threaded rods. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the case and the drawer fronts with alcohol and aught steel wool. Here's that big patch I did. Okay, I'm going to let this sit overnight. Okay, I've got a lot of things to do here, but I think I'm going to start with this broken knob. I want to sand the top a little bit, see if I can determine what kind of wood it is. I'm going to smooth the bottom of it a little bit too, because I'm going to tape it down to this piece of MDF. Really hard to tell. But all the other wood in this piece looks like cherry. This is difficult to tell. Maybe I'll just use cherry. It should work fine. This is a nice piece of cherry with a little bit of color to it, and this area of grain looks good too. I'm thinking I better put tape under the whole thing. I'm going to redo this. I moved the tape over so I could clamp it better. I'm just going to use regular yellow carpenter's glue for this little repair. It's the only thing I'm doing today. I'm not going to heat up the hide glue. So I still need to attach the top to the case, but first, before I do that, I want to get the first coat of finish on it, sealer on it. And mainly what I want to do before I attach it is I want to get some finish on the bottom of this, because we know it's had problems with seasonal wood movement. So I'm going to sand it just lightly by hand with some 220, just to kind of prep the surface for the first coat. I've got to put some stain on these plugs and sand the bottom a little bit also. Note that I'm not trying to sand out any marks or defects. I'm just going over it, kick up a little bit of sawdust. I want to make sure that the first coat of finish can adhere to the surface. I forgot to stain my plugs ahead of time. I'll just have to do it afterwards. Okay, we'll let this dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll get back on the case also. this is dried overnight, and the first coat soaked in pretty well. I'm going to sand this top and bottom and give it another coat. And I'm going to sand using a 220 gold and a ultrafine Scotch-Brite pad. These pads work great on surfaces that aren't flat, like this top, and also on the curved edges. I'm going to wipe this off with Mohawk Wax Wash Reducer, which just to get the dust off of it, and this is a product that can help remove any possible contaminants on the surface, although we've seen no evidence of that. This time I won't forget to get some stain on my plugs. This is some thinned out medium brown walnut dye stain. I let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'll put a little more on. And just as I did with the top, I'm going to sand the case with 220 and then give it a coat of varnish. There's a crack in the side here. It's got movement. I think I better glue it up. So I can work on the drawers while I'm waiting for that to set up. I'm not filling in defects and things like that. I mean, there might be some I might fill in, but most I'm leaving. Now here's a defect I will fill in. This is the bottom edge of the drawer, prone to chipping. I want to fill that in to prevent further chipping, and then I'll make sure this edge is rounded over well. And I've just noticed that the side has a split in it. Now I'm ready to reinstall the top. If you remember, the top originally was glued down around its entire perimeter, not allowing for seasonal wood movement, and consequently the top cracked. So I'm going to reinstall it. I'm going to use the same board here that has been glued to the bottom and is nicely dovetailed into the case. But in the front, I'm going to screw it down. Now, I've cut slotted screw holes in these existing glue blocks, and I also made some new blocks with slotted holes. I also added some drawer stops while I was at it. I had dry fitted the top and marked off and pre-drilled the screw holes for these slotted holes. You know, the whole idea behind the slotted screw hole is this. So a slotted screw hole rather, will allow this screw to move. It will allow the entire top to move, the screw with it. And the clamps on the back have to stay on overnight. Okay, I am anxious to get the first coat of varnish on the case and the drawer fronts. I still have to finish the knobs, but I'm anxious to get a coat on this so it could be dry. Now my veneer patches, I'm not going to stain those ahead of time. I'm going to put this first coat on, then I'll go back and stain them. They've got pretty good color. I'm going to see what it is before I try staining. Yeah, that's my largest patch right there. Okay, it's dried overnight. I have purposefully gotten the finishing a little bit ahead of the program. I still need to do the knobs. I still need to finish the repair on that one knob. Usually you do all the repairs first, but we have humid weather now, and I want to let this finish dry an extra day before I proceed with touch-ups and more coats. So I've got to shape my new piece of wood here to conform to the knob. Just about as I'm getting ready to glue this knob in place, I noticed a big bubble here. It was not obvious before. Sometimes that happens when you put on a coat of finish and it has a little gloss, suddenly you can see things. As you can see, I found another bubble after I glued that one on camera. So now I'm going to sand. I'm going to sand the case and the drawer fronts. I'm going to use 320 pre-cut gold paper and a gray ultrafine Scotch-Brite pad. Okay, all sanded. I need to do touch-ups now. Quite often, but not always, I seal the wood before I do the touch-ups. A couple of reasons. Number one, you just don't know what it's going to look like until you get some sealer on it, so you don't know how to stain it. And number two, by the wood being sealed, it gives you a little more control over what's going down. This is a good example right here. This is my largest veneer patch, and obviously it looks like it needs a lot of color. But watch what happens when we put it in the upright position. And you can see it looks really good, looks much better. Just a little light areas here and here, really. This patch clearly needs more color. This is Van Dyke Brown dye stain, which I've thinned with alcohol. This is that patch, of course, that I did 2 pieces of veneer to sort of go with the 2 pieces of veneer that meet here. I noticed when it was in the upright position that this piece didn't show at all. This piece was a little more visible. Now these are wood putty, and they really looked light. Often with putty, the markers work better than the dye stain, but here it seems to be working okay. Here's an example where I will stain the bare wood. This is perfect brown dye stain, thinned out. So now I want to give everything a coat of satin tung oil varnish. This might be the last coat. I just won't know until it dries, so I'm going to go with the satin. Okay, I still have to work on these knobs. So I'm just wiping them down with a little bit of alcohol. They seem to have a old kind of crusty finish on them, probably oil from people's hands. And the only way it comes off is with some solvent. Now this is the knob that's already attached to the drawer, and I think my new piece needs a little more stain. Let's see, I'll put some paint thinner on it. Definitely needs more. I think I'll put some full strength perfect brown on there. I had sealed this knob with one coat of varnish, so I'll go over it with an ultrafine Scotch-Brite pad. Okay, I've let everything dry here for an hour or so. I'm going to put on a coat of satin tung oil varnish. I'm fitting the drawers, and there's a problem with the top two drawers. They never had pulls or knobs. The way to open them is you had to pull them with the key, and that's always a problem. Just like we have here, there's no keys, and also in addition, one of the locks is missing. I'm going to take the lock from the bottom drawer and install it where that lock's missing in the top drawer. Now, we could have keys made for these locks, but I don't see any purpose of that. Lock drawers are nothing but trouble. I have a new key blank here. I filed it a little bit so it fits in there. It fits in fine, and you can use it to pull the drawers open. But the locks do not work. And if this key is ever misplaced, well, you can just reach under here and open the drawer. Now we need to install the knobs. Okay, let's try it without the string first. Well, okay, we need something. Maybe I'll try the string. Well, it seems silly, but string worked. Well, this one works as intended. This one too. That's unusual. Now I need to install the back. These are the original nails. If I run short, I have these nails. Wow, I didn't have to add any nails. I had all the old ones. No, I haven't done anything to the finish yet. That final coat came out so well. I have very little to do. It's pretty smooth, but you can just feel very minute pieces of dust. So I'm going to go over it with a piece of craft paper. This is a piece of heavy-duty paper from a sturdy paper bag. It feels really smooth now. I'm going to eventually wax this with the beeswax polish I always use, but it's so humid. It's like 83% humidity the past few days. I'm just going to let this varnish dry before I wax it. Wow, so there you have it, this nice little American Empire chest of drawers. In the introduction I thought it was poplar, but it turned out to be cherry. But this top had a big split in it, so we re-glued the top. I also had to reattach the top in such a manner to allow it to move in the future. And a lot of veneer repairs, especially on the base here, and then in a few places on the drawers. Repaired one of these knobs. And then I basically refinished it, but I mean I didn't use stripper and I barely sanded it. I just took off the old finish with solvent and then put on a new finish of tung oil varnish. I think this top will hold up pretty well now. And I think it looks pretty good.